So I'm back for another Doctor Who review in this what is absolutely not a regular series, and it's just me occasionally but seemingly every week deciding randomly to review the latest episode. Not at all a series, nah. This week's episode is the third episode of the series, of series 10. It is called Thin Ice. It was written by Sarah Dollard, who wrote Face the Raven, the episode where Clara died, in inverted commas. Which I thought was a very good episode, so I had quite good expectations going into this. I thought the previous episode that she'd written, Face the Raven, did some great character work, so I was looking forward to more of that in this one, and it didn't disappoint. The episode was directed by Bill Anderson, so nice to have a change from the guy that directed the other two episodes of this season so far. He hasn't gone too greedy, that's good. So the episode once again started just set seconds after the last episode ended. It's like we're in the William Hartnell era all over again. The Doctor and Bill have landed in 1814 and are on a frozen frost fair on the Thames. The Doctor has been to these before many times in many stories, including in this rather good book. I can recommend it. It's called Silhouette by Justin Richards. Read this last year and it's a very good book. Also set on the frost fair. Not the same one though. As you see, it's got the Paternoster gang in, and they're from the late 1800s, I believe. And this is early 1800s, so not set at the same time. There were many frost fairs. It was very cold in the 1800s, I gather. So cold the Thames would regularly freeze over. So at the frost fair, there are these lights going on under the ice. There's strange lights that Bill picks up on, and obviously the Doctor picks up on, and they go to investigate, and they find out that there are these little fish swimming around under the ice, which are sucking people under the ice. They want to know more, so after a bit of investigation, they go down in some great big old-fashioned diving suits, and they find out that these little fish are working for this bigger fish. No, not just big, like giant fish. Absolutely humongous. Its eye is the size, like, of Bill's entire body, pretty much. The fish is stuck in one place by these giant chains, and a little bit more investigations reveals a human villain behind the whole thing, Mr. Sutcliffe, who has captured this big giant fish. Or actually, I think he mentions that it's been in his family for generations. So one of his ancestors captured it. Basically because the fish makes really good poo that's really good fuel. The most powerful fuel known to man at this point. And he obviously sells it for a lot of money. But it can only produce this fuel if it's fed people. So he's feeding them people. But the Doctor and Bill have found out his evil plan, but he captures them. So that's also not very good. And he also decides to accelerate his plan, which seems to involve blowing up the ice with everyone on it. Presumably so the fish can get a lot of food at once, but I wasn't entirely clear on the logic of how that would help him, necessarily. There's also some involvement with some street urchins that pickpocket the Doctor Sonic screwdriver at the beginning, and then end up helping him by the end. And for their effort, they are rewarded with an inheritance of a giant house and a fortune, which is nice. Oh, the bad guy dies. He's eaten by the fish. Big fish. Getting his revenge before sailing off to the fish this is, to colder climes. Probably North Pole. Bill mentions what happens if it goes to Norway. I know, we could see it again one day. So that's what happened in Thin Ice, basically, summed up in a rather blurby way. What did I think though? I liked it mostly. I quite enjoyed the episode. I did, however, get the feeling that it felt a bit like it was repeating The Beast Below. If anybody remembers this was Matt Smith's second episode, I believe. I think it was his second episode, where it's got many of the same beats. There is a creature that has been captured and is being abused and used for the benefit of humans. And in a very similar way, at the very end, the Doctor makes the companion make the ethical choice of what they need to do. Do they free the creature, which could be bad for the humans, or do they let the creature carry on being kept and tortured and manipulated and used? And in both of those episodes, it's left to the companion to decide. So there's a lot of parallels between that, and I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I suppose it has been about 7 years, so to go back on some ideas is probably okay. I don't know, but maybe it's a bit lazy. I don't know. It didn't bother me too much, but I did notice it. So I liked how they dealt with I liked how they dealt with racism, because it's one thing that doesn't really come up much directly in Doctor Who, and they kind of dealt with it head on in this episode, which I quite liked. You know, there's lots of episodes where they use metaphors to deal with the issue of racism, or they have alien races representing, you know, the sort of race conflicts that we've had in our world, but they've never really dealt with it massively directly. And even when Martha was the companion, you'd get in the historical episodes, you might get the occasional line, but I don't recall it ever being quite as prominent as it was in this episode, that they actually deal with it. It was kind of brushed under the carpet quite a lot in Martha's era. I think it was kind of like a one line by Martha, one line by the Doctor, and then not mentioned again for the rest of the episode. Whereas in this one, they did repeatedly come back to it, which I quite liked, and used it in a very interesting way, because I mean, when they first land, immediately Bill is picks up on it, and she's like,
It's 1814. Melanin.
Yes?
Slavery is still totally a thing.
and you know, that could have been just one of those moments like in the Martha era where he just says one line and it's gone. But the conversation does actually go on a little bit more, which is quite nice, I thought. Another thing I really like about the fact that they dealt with that, and particularly when she mentions slavery, is it's a nice way of tying into the theme of the episode, because in many ways the fish, I mean, is a slave, and it's a very subtle way to tie into the overall theme of the episode by having her mention that, which I quite liked. Then, of course, you've got Mr. Sutcliffe, who is out and out just completely racist, and he says the line, "You girls stand before your betters," and you know, there could be many inferences from that, but I think it was pretty clear that he was mostly talking about the colour of her skin. And the Doctor punches him for it, which is great. You'll love a racist getting punched. There's some great character development stuff between Bill and the Doctor. Some beautiful acting between the two of them when the big conflict between them came up, which effectively arose from when one of the street urchin boys got sucked into the ice, and this is the one that had stolen the sonic screwdriver, and he was still holding the sonic screwdriver, and just as he's getting sucked back into the ice, the Doctor manages to grab the sonic screwdriver, and as Bill is stood there horrified that this boy has just died in front of them, basically been sucked into the ice, and she knows he's been more than 99% likely that he's been killed, the Doctor is there just cradling his sonic screwdriver like, "Oh, thank God I found you." He's not saying any of this, but that's kind of look on his face that he's really pleased he's got his sonic screwdriver and relieved about that, and he's not focusing on the death of the boy, which Bill is. And that leads to a whole lot of great stuff between them about, and she questions him about, you know, how many people have you seen die that you can just be so blasé about it? And he can't remember. And then she asks him, "Have you ever killed anyone?" And I think that whole conversation is absolutely fantastic by both of them. Amazing acting, but especially on Peter's part. Kind of harks back to his persona a bit in season 8, when he was a bit more hard and a bit more seemed like he didn't care. It's not, and he was asking, "Am I a good man?" Well, I think now he knows he's a good man, but he's as he says in this, he moves on. He has to, because he sees this sort of stuff so much that this version of him, this persona of him, his way of dealing with it is just to move on. So of course he wants to save everyone, and if he could, he would absolutely save everyone, but once somebody is gone, he knows they're gone and there's nothing he can do about it, so he moves on and he focuses on what he needs to focus on, which in that case was the sonic screwdriver. Production values were really good, the sets were amazing. This was all studio based, this one, unlike last week when I was absolutely amazingly praising the location they had found because it was so beautiful and it was a real place in last week's Smile episode. This place, all sets, but such amazingly done sets. I mean, they built a whole bridge for their sets. There's no CGI in this. That was all set. It's amazing what you can do with a bit of brilliant lighting and a bit of mist to disguise the fact that you don't have anything beyond that. But yeah, brilliant sets, brilliant costumes, such a variety as well. There wasn't just, Regency era, but there wasn't just sort of English Regency era. There were people on the Frost Fair that were in sort of, Far East garb, and people doing, sword swallowers in fancy clothing, and all sorts of a variety of costumes that all looked absolutely wonderful. If anybody is looking to cosplay, this episode will be a good one to source some material from, I suspect. Bill once again was being a bit of the voice of the audience in terms of the questions she was asking. She's very inquisitive. She kept up with that. But she asked the question. What I really like is she asked the questions that we ask, and they're kind of like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why does that work like that? That's just silly. That's a silly plot flaw. Well, she asked those questions in this episode. It was. It was how could it, when they got back, how could that not have been in the papers? How could that not be in the historical record that a giant fish went down the Thames? And that's something, we ask all the time. We're like, oh, well, how has that been retconned that nobody remembers it? Well, as the Doctor explains, it's just that people, the human race, have a tendency to gloss over things that might be a bit too scary for them, or bit hard to explain. They come up with their own explanations for things that fit into their worldview. And that has happened before, but I like the fact that Bill is constantly asking those questions. I'd say my main negative was Sutcliffe's plan, which didn't seem to logically make any sense to me whatsoever. He'd been discovered, he decided he wanted to blow up, to accelerate his plan. So presumably this was a plan that was already in place, to blow up the Thames and kill everybody at once. But I don't know, it just didn't seem to, or they didn't explain it very well, why that would be a good thing. Killing everybody at once is just going to draw attention to him, surely, and then the fish will be discovered, or it'll escape, neither which could have been good for him. I don't understand really what the plan was. And I think as part of that then made me think that the ending was a bit rushed, because then he'd accelerated his plan and suddenly he was blowing up the ice, and it kind of felt much like last week's episode. The ending felt a bit rushed. This episode also felt a bit rushed, but not as much as last week's. Last week's was like completely out of the blue. Deus Ex Machina, I never pronounced that right. Ending. Whereas this one was a bit more like the resolution that the Doctor comes up with wasn't so contrived, but the ending just came about all of a sudden, and as like the third act just felt a bit squeezed into too tight a space, I think. And then kind of thought, well, there's not much there, and the bad guy himself was a bit sort of mustache twirling. Without actually having a mustache, and therefore, I don't know, he's just a bit one-dimensional. Right at the end of the episode, of course, we got the knocking on the vault door. Nada went down to take something or look at the vault. There's some knocking. What's that? I still think it's probably the Master, John Simm's Master, in the vault, which probably the Time Lords have tasked the Doctor with looking after on Earth. I don't know, because it's too dangerous to keep on Gallifrey, him prisoner on Gallifrey? I don't know, but I think it's the Master. I think it's John Sim in the vault with the revolver. And he killed Mrs. Peacock. A Doctor Who Cluedo game, actually, that would be quite good. I would buy that game. Next time looks like a creepy episode. Spooky haunted house type episode. David Suchet who's a brilliant actor, so looking forward to that. Hopefully can keep up this run. I would give Thin Ice another 7 out of 10. I think I gave last week's a 7 out of 10 as well. I would give this one a 7 out of 10 as well. It's very enjoyable. It's not something I would watch and go, oh, this is amazing, I need to watch it again, but equally it's not something I can find much wrong with, other than a couple of nitpicky bits and a bit about the villain. But overall I quite enjoyed it, and in 5 years' time, when I'm doing a marathon through this season again, or whenever I decide to do it, it's not like I'm going to skip it. It's not that bad. But who am I kidding? I don't skip any episodes. I'm a completist. But I wouldn't even think, oh, I wish I could skip it. It's a good episode. and therefore deserves, I think, the 7 out of 10. But there could be better, and I'm hoping there will be throughout the season. Overall, though, this season is going quite well. I'm liking it, not disappointed at all. I will probably be here next week with another review, let's be honest. But it's still not a series, and I'm not making any promises. But I will probably be here. So I'll probably see you then. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this. I do pop culture type videos, you know, once every 1 or 2 weeks. At the moment they tend to be mostly Doctor Who reviews, but I also do other Doctor Who videos and other pop culture videos, and I also do this stupid idea where I decided to celebrate a festivity day every year, so a holiday every day of the year, and make a video for every day of the year. And it's like, it's killing me, man. But like I say, I'm a completist, gotta finish it now. I'm a quarter of the way through the year. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.